Let's see them call me cute after I turn them into a bunch of ones and zeros! Let's get this victory over with already.
You know, that's an interesting thing. I've never actually known exactly how to pronounce her name. So maybe that's something ultimately someone like James or Dax could give the final say on. But for me, I will probably be calling her Ai.Mi. I'm sorry if that's incorrect. That's probably what I'll be saying. So what you're looking at right here, right now, is the Ai.Mi theme. This is the project file for Ai.Mi's theme. If I zoom way out here, there you go. This is the track. Was this inspired by Moe Shop at all because their style is insane? Yes, it was. Yes, it was absolutely inspired by Moe Shop. Not that it's anything you guys have not heard before. I'll go ahead and put on the headphones for this. Let me know if the audio's okay. Okay, so, just, you know, to start with, maybe a little bit of a backstory on how this even happened in the first place. I think this track has maybe got the most fun, interesting story to it of all of them, because this is the first thing that I did for the entire game. James Landino, who's the audio director and music lead for the game, called me. This was probably, gosh, what was this, like August of 22? He called me like on a Friday. It was a Friday evening. And he goes, "Hey dude. So what are you doing this weekend?" And I said, "Not much. What's up?" And he said, "I'm working with this developer. They're needing music for this trailer for this character by Monday. By Sunday night, really. I'm flying home from Japan. I can't do it. Would you be open to doing it?" And I said, "You've got it, boss." And so pretty much the majority of this song was written and produced over the course of that Saturday and that Sunday. The version that you hear in that character announcement trailer is about 50 seconds long. That's actually the original version of the song. Over the course of the next 2 days, I want to say, between Monday and Tuesday, maybe a little bit of Wednesday, I don't remember. I extended it out, and that's how you got the second drop here. You know, this bad boy. So this is all part of the extended version, where I spent, you know, Monday and Tuesday doing all of this. And so yeah, this track was from start to finish. First started and completely mixed and mastered and done Saturday to Wednesday. And honestly, the fat of it was really that weekend. You know, it was much easier to get all this stuff done because I already had, like, you know, the groundwork that I had established that weekend. So yeah, this definitely came together very quickly, and I feel like that is a very big part of a very important part of the story, because I think that having no time to think about any of it was a huge factor in the production. You know, obviously I wouldn't say, hey, everybody, give me very little time to work on something. You know, I don't. I like being able to have a life. That said, the timed challenge there, I think, was very important to the production because it gave me no time to overthink anything. It was just just start trying stuff and we're gonna figure it out. And as a result, this is one of the cooler tracks I feel like I've done, if I do say so myself. So that's kind of the story of how the whole track came to be. All that said, I don't really even know where to start with this. I guess when it comes to, people ask me this a lot, like, what do you usually start with? Do you usually start with like the bass or the keys? Do you start with the drums? It's different every single time, and I think this is one of those where I actually, sometimes, like with a EDM track like this, I would start with the drop, or I would start with like the big, drum section, and then I'd build in the intro to it. I think this is one of those where I actually built it pretty chronologically. I'm pretty sure I built it and started it with this intro. And once I kind of like found all my little chords, my chops, my little sample bits and stuff, and I pieced it all together, then it started to make a little more sense how to move forward with it, how to get the drums, feeling good with it, and all that stuff. So yeah, so there's various moving pieces here. I think the main thing. The main thing here is this, as I, respectively called it, the main splice. That's obviously the biggest factor here. And for the record, a lot of this, a lot of the sounds here come from Vengeance Essential House, which is actually kind of old school at this point. This thing's probably from like 2012. And I know Moe Shop actually has been a big contender for this pack. It's just a combination. So this is definitely from that. Let's see. I'm using This is probably before Quick Sampler existed. These days I probably just would have used Quick Sampler. But actually, no, this probably wasn't Quick Sampler because I had to use various different yeah, there's various different samples here. Really, really, really cool little sample thing there. I'm actually trying. Let's see if I can find the original sample for you guys. VE. Let's see. This is probably a melody loop. V3 Reloaded. Yep. I think it's really this one. So I grabbed that and then just completely messed with it. Right? Actually made it sound quite a bit smaller, more like radio-esque, radio speaker. And classic stuff, OTT it. Yeah, you can see here, this is my original EQ on it. Very much just killing all the low and high end, pretty much all mids. It looks like I probably even narrowed the stereo field on it. It was definitely the intention here was to make it sound a lot smaller. Bit crusher, all that kind of stuff on this. So yeah, anyway, that's the main splice. That's the main chop. And then you've got this string dip, which I'm also pretty certain is from, this is also from this pack. Right? So already right there you've got, and that really makes up, that makes up the majority of that sound. But then of course I've got my own chords that I'm playing here. This is in Serum. I don't know, did I build this myself? I think I did. Yeah. Yeah, I built this myself, I'm pretty sure. This is probably just like something I again, a lot of this and this is the difficult part to like explain to people. It always amazes me when there are engineers and producers that can remember exactly what thing they used on like a specific moment from something they recorded 20, 30 years ago. Because gosh, it feels like a lot of the time it's almost like I go into this trance when working on this stuff, and then I come out the other end like 3 hours later, and it's like, oh, somehow I made this, and I think this is probably one of those moments where it was just a whole bunch of turning knobs and changing stuff and getting weird with it. That's my guess, but yeah, just a little patch I made. That's honestly a pretty crappy sound by itself. That is definitely reliant on the polyphonic. Yeah, that's a very thin sound. But in the mix with everything else, and I mean thick chords there. I mean, that's just a bunch of ninths basically. Look at that. That's just bunch of extensions on that. Interestingly, it looks like I widened it. This is a fun little. I use this thing honestly still quite a lot. Brainworks BX Solo. I mean, this literally just it's a mid-side widener. I would be careful when using something like this, for the sake of phasing and correlation. But this is a freebie that you can get from like Plugin Alliance. Really, really great. So I probably use that just to widen it a little bit. So this is without it and on. So especially if you're on headphones, you can probably hear how that just kind of brought it out a little bit. Which, in the stereo field probably was really good to do, because now you've got this chord patch that's a little wider while the main splice is a little more narrowed. So they both kind of live in that, they both have a good relationship in that mid-side field. Right. And then, of course, you can probably see, I'm pretty sure all of these do, you can see how these have all got freaking kickstart on them. This is basically just like this is LFO tool, or something like that. It's basically, this gives you that pumping sound. So for those of you that aren't like familiar with this kind of thing, kickstart basically is it's an automatic way, particularly good for when you have a 4 on the floor kind of kick, like a it's really good for what we call sidechain compression, which you could do quite literally, which is where I would go to a compressor, and then I would go to a sidechain, and in this case, with most instances, I would sidechain it to the kick drum, which would then mean that every single time that this triggers, every single time the kick makes a noise, it would pull back the volume on the instrument with that sidechain compression. And the reason this is popular with EDM, you've probably noticed it, you've probably heard it, is a lot of times other sounds, chords, melodies, whatever it is, everything will kind of the volume will back off when the kick hits, which makes the kick hit a lot harder. It also gives a lot of like kind of pulsing rhythmic flow to the sound. It's just a huge part of the sound of EDM. And so yeah, that's just basically what kickstart does. Is it's just like autopilot sidechain compression, and you can get more specific with like your curves and stuff. And honestly, even then, this is like easy mode for that. You can get very, very meticulous with this with stuff like Shaper Box, or probably again like LFO Tool. But Kickstart is just so easy and quick to use. Anyway, so you're gonna see that that's pretty much on everything. And you know, like I said, like it's good when you've got like that 4 on the floor thing, but a lot of times I use it even to a certain extent when there isn't something like that, because it just kind of gives like this pulsing sound. I'll just go ahead and preview instead of talking so much. I'll go ahead and show you what this sounds like without Kickstart on. This is right. You hear the difference? Like now there's kind of a pulsing sound to it. Off. On. And that it honestly already sounds cool like that by itself. But you know, once you put in the kick. So again, let me turn it off so you can hear without it. Like that's like practically 70 to 80% of the sound if we're being honest. So yeah, that's a huge part of it, and you're going to see that on almost every single track here. There's going to be some level of kickstart on it. So yeah, big part of the sound. Something else that you'll probably notice, and you'll notice it even more as I show other parts. But it also it's a big part of the rhythm as a whole. Is this kind of track in particular? Everything is kind of played back, so it's got a shuffle groove to it, but it's also like delayed behind the kick beyond that, and that's a huge part of the feel. If all of this was like right on the beat, right on the grid, it actually loses a lot of the push and pull that makes it so interesting, and I'll show you guys that a little bit more very soon. You know, we've got some other fun stuff here, like this, I just Minneapolis funk is what I called it. You know, it's very kind of Prince-ish. This is actually a very thin sound though. Classic, old school, ancient ES1, Logic Pro, subtractive synth. This thing is, I mean, you can see by the UI, it's ancient. And again, very tiny little sound, but when, you know, everything else is on top of it, it's all those moving parts together. You know, and you've got like that little chop there. That little chop there's a lot of fun. Yeah. And see, like as I was just saying, like this isn't all right on the grid. You know, because if I move, like, let me just show you real quick. If I put this right on the grid, you're gonna lose a lot of that, a lot of the kind of the feel of the track. You hear that? Like now it's a little too straight. It doesn't, now it loses character. That's not nearly as fun. So just having it kind of behind the beat just a little bit goes a long way. You know, there's other chops here. There's you got this guy, I think, again, yeah, which that's a chop from that same. I'm actually not sure that is from. Yeah, I know this is from. Let's see, what is this called? I can probably find it. Platinum 4. Go to P. Platinum 4. You know. Yeah, so that's what that is. And again, just splicing it up. We've got a glockenspiel here. Again, OTT. You're gonna see this a lot as well on this kind of track. Electric piano. I did not bounce this down. This is Keyscape. I mean, this is like Desert Island VST for me. No question. Again, OTT kickstart. A little bit of LA. I always love LA2A on the electric piano. But yeah, again, it's like that's just a little stupid dink, but it's about how it all kind of pieces together, how all the pieces of the puzzle create the whole image. Right, it's just a whole bunch of stuff back and forth. Again, brass hit again. This is some whoops. This is something I don't know where this went. Oh, I guess it was probably like here. This is another thing that again is from that Vengeance Essential House. Yet another little thing. So yeah, you got and then yeah, you've got your slap bass. I don't know if this is also from I don't know what this is from. File. It's not showing me. Yep, it's dude, I use so much of just freaking Vengeance Essential House on this track. It's so funny. So a whole bunch of, again, it kind of sounds all silly by itself. But then, you know, you put it with everything else and it starts to make sense. You know, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's your main, like, that's your sample chops right there. Like that's all the chop sample stuff. You know, I guess just to add a little more percussive element to it, I've got my my drum samples here. I've got some hats kind of accenting stuff. You know, yeah, so you get that, and that just gives all of this a little bit more of a bite, and that's how you end up with, I suppose, kind of the final product here. And that's how you get that the sample chop. I've got to give a shout out to James for this. When I first when I sent him the original like the first draft of this, the chords and all the sample and stuff was playing all the way through with the bass here. The moment the drop comes in, and I remember him going, "Dude, just make it the bass." And I remember thinking, "Really? Don't we want to be making it bigger? Like, you think just the bass?" That was a very, very good call. Because just making it like that big hit and then just bass and drums, like it hits that much harder. So shout outs to James for really, really good input there. Yeah, it's really cool. The bass is I love this stupid bass. So here it is by itself. Really dirty. So again, classic Serum. This was so basic. It's just a square wave. It's just a straight square wave. But then there's sub on top of that. I think it's probably just, yeah, it's not even an octave down. So it's a sine wave combined with a square wave. And then I've got some noise going on. And that's basically it. That's basically it for Serum itself. But a lot of the magic here is what I did after the fact, I think. So, unsurprisingly, OTT, low frequency compression all the way freaking up. Console EQ, huge fan of this thing. Huge fan of this thing. If you don't have Logic, this is basically Logic's Neve 1073 imitation. I don't even want to call it an emulation. I think it's more of like nodding toward the Neve 1073, but I'm a huge fan. I mean, I think most people just adore the Neve 1073, and there's a good reason. This thing in particular is really great, and I'm turning up the low end on it just a little bit down at 50 hertz. And that's pretty much it. Between that and just the drives up a little bit, but just a little bit of that kind of harmonic distortion that you get from the console EQ, and then I've got multi-band compression on this. This is always, it's great to do multi-band compression. Let me just go ahead and show you. This can be good because it helps without compressing the entire signal sometimes. This can be good to just level out specific low notes that might be louder than others. Just can help kind of keep all of that low end controlled. Because with bass, most of the time you really want that low end really very stabilized. Yeah. So it's specifically compressing, anything under 150 hertz there. And then again, kickstart. Again, I'll give you the kick. I'll show you what this sounds like without it. It's a totally different story. Right now you're feeling it. The moment that kickstart comes on, now it's like, okay, now I'm. That's just sterile. It sounds stupid without it, honestly. Here's the other big thing though, and you guys are probably seeing this. This is a huge factor. I don't remember how I discovered this. I know this was something of a self-discovery for me. But what's up, Franklo? Good to see you. Sorry, by the way, if I'm kind of coughing a little bit, I'm kind of fighting off a sickness right now, so so big factor, bass noise. Now that sounds disgusting by itself. Like I said, I don't remember how I discovered this. It was definitely some kind of self-discovery. I think I was just messing around. But basically what I figured out is if I just have just a noise channel, just straight noise. This is just what it is by itself. It's just noise. But the big factor here is sidechain compression. And this is a totally different kind of sidechain. So I mentioned earlier how you can use it to route to like a kick drum or something to then have the volume pull back. Well, something else you can do is you can literally use these different kinds of so for instance with this is Logic Pro's compressor. They have different kinds of compressors here, all kind of imitating, again, I wouldn't say emulating, but imitating, nodding toward a famous kind of compressor. And in this case, this is emulating, or again, not emulating, like kind of imitating, I think it's the Fairchild, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, the only reason I bring that up is that those compressors, those hardware analog compressors, they have distortion in them. And so if I just push this to its absolute limit, sidechain the living snot out of this to that bass, so to this, attack, release really quick. Like this is literally pushing this compressor to its limit to the point in which you're gonna hear all that kind of distortion. What you end up with is almost like just this dirty kind of noise element that sounds like it's part of the bass, right? So again, this is without that sidechain compression on. It just sounds like basic noise. it's just, you know, really stupid. If I turn on that sidechain compression, and again, it's routed to that bass, threshold down all the way, ratio all the way up. I mean, look at this. I'm hitting this hard. It's like now you're getting like from the low frequencies of that square wave bass, now you're getting like that rattly kind of sound. It almost sounds like the bass is rattling on something. It makes it almost sound like your speakers are maybe distorting it a little bit, and I love that. So yeah, I mean, that's the biggest factor to it. I then of course went even further. You know, I mean, this is gonna sound. Let me just turn all of this off. Oof. So that really loud is probably because there's still a little bit of time that it's got to grab all that sound and pull it back. The compressor does. So kickstart is probably helping basically keep all of that from even peeking through. Yeah, kickstart just keeps any of that from even showing up. So yeah, fat effects here. Again, another built-in Logic thing. But you know, most DAWs have some sort of version of this kind of thing where it's just like the built-in distortion plugin, in which case I'm using tube distortion here. Right, so without that adds quite a bit of volume and again distortion and character to it. Sample to delay, basically this is what we call the Haas effect, where you delay one channel of one of the ears, one of the stereo channels, and it gives kind of this almost fake stereo effect. So again, without that on, it's just, you know, dead center. If I turn this on though, and now you've got this wide kind of stereo sound, because the channels they're not exactly together anymore. So I use that a lot. That's definitely a tactic I've used a lot. We've got various channel EQs on this. These are just, you know, helping kind of shape that sound of the noise. OTT. So without that on, you know, another freaking channel EQ. You know, a lot of stuff going on here. Exciter at 7,000 hertz. Just all these little moving parts. And then finally, again, you know, I brought this up earlier, BX Solo. This just widens out that sound just a little more. Just a little bit. Anyway, that's the bass noise. So again, this is the bass without that noise. Already pretty good. But then check it out once I put in the noise. Check this out. It's pretty cool. Right? Let me give it to you with the drums here, so you can kind of hear, you know, before and after without the noise. With the noise. You know, it's pretty cool. So I've used that tactic on various different things. But it really came in handy on this for sure. And since we're here now, here is the kit, the drums by themselves. Again, probably abusing Vengeance Essential House here. You know, you got various claps. Clap 1, clap 2, right? Both together. There you go. And then you got your hat loops. This one actually is from Logic. That's a classic. I've used that a few times. This one's from Vengeance. But check this out. So back to my point about like everything kind of being behind the groove. You'll notice if you follow my cursor over here, there's this thing called delay. I use this thing a lot. And it's at 1/128th here, which doesn't seem like a lot, but check this out. So if I just turn this off for both of these, let me show you before and after. So this is well, yeah, here, we'll do it this way. So here's the track without that pushed back hat loop. Sounds pretty cool, right? Check it out once I delay the hat. Again, off. This is off. Delayed. It's just enough that it gives you that push and pull. I feel like that's a big part of the feel in the groove. Is just having everything kind of behind the kick and the clap. So yeah, there you go. Pretty basic, all things considered. But one of my favorite parts actually is up here, yet again, to some extent doing some sidechain here. That thing's a lot of fun. So what happened there is we've got this shaker loop going on. Which this is interesting in its own right, because probably before anything is even on it. Yeah, that's what it sounds like, you know, out the gate. I don't even know where I got this from. I'm gonna guess probably Logic, but I don't know. So, you know, I distort the living crap out of it. And then I ring shifted it, which I think is a lot of the sound here. Right? So that's after distorting the living crap out of it, then ring shifting. And that's how you get the kind of stereo sound from it. It's actually not ring shifting. This is a frequency shift. But the name of the thing is called ring shift. Little bit of EQ to just, you know, attenuate the top end a little bit. And then we got this enveloper, which is just kind of making sure like the transient of it bites a little more, right? That's without it on. You can hear how it immediately becomes more percussive with this on. So off, on. That helps a lot. Sample delay, you know the drill. Widens it even more. And then, of course, the final piece of the puzzle, kickstart. Which, again, really gives a big rhythmic element to it, right? So without it on... But with it on, like now it's like instead of ticka 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 ticka, now it's like ticka 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 ticka. So that's the shaker. So this thing right here, this little rising sound is a lot of fun. So what did I do? So this is Serum. And it's just a sine wave and some noise, and it rises in pitch. Right, I've got this LFO assigned to the coarse pitch, so it's, you know, it's a rising tone. However, this is how this sound started. That's it. So The fun part of it is I sidechained. I put a noise gate on it and sidechained it to that shaker loop. So the shaker loop I just showed you, sidechained it to that. So now it's matching the rhythm of this, right? And that's how you get that, the OTT, of course. That's a lot of the sound right there too, is OTT, good old OTT. Console EQ. Now, what's interesting, I think I tried this, unless it shows up later on, which I don't think it does. I tried that ring shift and decided against it. Which by itself, that's actually pretty cool. But in the track, in the mix, I assume that I kind of was like, this doesn't really work. Again, enveloper basically just giving a little more percussive bite to it. Channel EQ just to attenuate some stuff. Compressor. A little bit of compression. And this is... the vintage opto is basically Logic's imitation of the LA2A. And then finally, of course, kickstart. And that's how you end up with that. So again, it started off really, really stupid sound. Really stupid sound. But then, And that's one of my favorite little elements in the track. So with the whole mix, yeah. So that's all the kind of stuff that really brought the track together there. Of course, you've got that slap bass, which is pretty much working together with the synth bass here. It's just like little chops here and there. It's tiny, stupid stuff, but that kind of stuff like gives all the kind of funk and feel to the whole thing, right? Right? And then, yeah, we've got another electric piano here. So what's happening there is that's your frequency shifting yet again. So basically I'm just moving this around. And that's how you get kind of that bubbly sound. Which then turns into kind of a riser as well. The faster this frequency shifting gets, really, really, really cool. Yeah, man, you got like all these different, like what is this? Well, it's just little elements like that. Yeah, noise hit. Yeah, what is that? That's super cool. Yeah, just that little. Clap reverse. So what I already know because I can see. So really, really basic old school maneuver here. What that is I just took this track. In fact, I can turn this on so you can hear. Just put a reverb on it. It's stupid like room reverb. This is chromaverb from Logic, but honestly, you could use anything that whatever you like the sound of. And then I just bounced that down and reversed it, and that's how you get, right? And that's how you get kind of that cool little element there. Right, and that's like another cool little moment there, is like everything kind of cuts for a second. It's just that clap and then nothing for like a split second. And then back in, right? Right, because we're allowing that space for that little whatever that little glitchy sound is. Yeah, that guy. Which this is an Omnisphere patch, it looks like. What is this? Madness Amp 3 sample. Yeah, that's what that is. Interesting. I see, this is the kind of stuff I don't even remember. But yeah, it's like it's giving those spots, giving those little tiny micro moments for all these different elements to have their spot, you know? Yeah, you got your little tambourine there. And this is something else. Old D50 Fantasia sample. And just lo-fied and screwed the crap up on, you know, OTT, just dead mono, bit crusher, tape saturation, you know, the whole shebang. And that combined with this triangle lead. You know, which is, I mean, what, just a basic, really stupid... Yeah, JP8, yeah, I screwed with it a little bit, but this is just Omnisphere. Omnisphere is another Desert Island VST for me, for sure. You know, and that's kind of... Yeah, you got your little voice splices here. Stuff that I think this is all just stuff I grabbed from Splice. Anyway, so then I'm using Alex for this build. You've got this lexicon hall that shows up. What's really interesting is this. What am I? It's probably part of the build. Oh yeah, it totally is. Yeah, you hear how it rises? So what I'm doing, this is interesting, because this is stuff that I've forgotten about. So yeah, I'm using Little Altar Boy, and basically what this does is, right at this point, or maybe in a second here, there it is. I'm raising the pitch of the reverb specifically. So this is just the reverb by itself. Pretty cool. Yeah, and I think I'm also like this. So the reverb comes up on this chop, you know, the further into the build you go. Yeah, I got a lot of cool little loops and samples going on here. Yeah, Oliver packs are fantastic. Really cool. You know, good old, you know, low pass filter. That's a tried and true way to get a good build going, is just turning the knob on that low pass filter. Yeah. All those little elements, right? Classic clap build, probably it's just straight up, that's just a 909 clap. That's old school. Yeah, you got your hat there. Yeah, you got your effects. Oh man, damage. Heaviosity's damage, definitely, I use that guy a lot. That's a fun one. Get those big old booming sounds in there. This is just a stupid, I think I built like a vanilla serum patch. Just again, OTT, kickstart, all these different little elements here. All these little elements that help build that build, you know? And then of course this fill, which is so much fun. I actually would love to hear what this sounds like without all this crap on it. I'd like to know what this was like. Can you? It's so dinky. That's so funny. It's so tiny. So yeah, I'm sure a lot of it has to do with this just distorting it. Tube saturation. Yeah, that already does, like, I mean, that's probably 80% of the battle right there. And then OTT. Yeah, that just slams it. Good old channel EQ to attenuate some certain frequencies. Right. This guy to narrow the stereo field. I didn't want it to be too wide. Yeah. Enveloper, once again, getting a little more percussive bite. Yeah, because a lot of times what happens is you saturate the living crap out of it, and it's cool, but then you actually lose some of that percussive bite that was there originally. So, you know, I try to bring it back a little bit with the enveloper. And then we've got Slate Digital's Distressor. Oh man, so golly, this thing's compressed to hell and back. Good lord. Yeah, so that, golly, so much compression on this single fill right here. And then another channel EQ looks like it's just taking care of some of that high frequency stuff. And then finally, just a limiter. Yeah, but gosh, it's so loud that limiter is actually doing. Yeah, so this thing is slammed to the wall. But I mean, that's a huge part of the sound here. So yeah, all of these moving parts together. Oh yeah, and then of course you've got that thing, you know, your good old like sub drop. I love that little spot there. I love that. Yeah, this drop is really cool. I'm not gonna lie, man. I remember it actually was even simpler originally, and James went, "No, I want to hear like a little more like syncopation in there," and that's how you ended up with kind of the. James, what he was like, I feel like there could be a little more like rhythmic interest there. So yeah, hey, I'm gonna be real with you guys right now. You know, all these producers that go, "You presets, screw that, bro. I use presets." At least on this, I sure did. These are from Virtual Riot, like on Splice. And then I think I adjusted a taste afterward. But gosh, I mean, it's just straight up, you know, that's just straight up a serum preset. Fat effects, you know, I again, like I said, I adjusted a taste afterwards. So more distortion, OTT as always. You know, you've got I mean, these are almost wild EQ curves that are going on here. Enveloper, kickstart, etc. Limiter. So I'm combining two different patches here. Right? And then you got the sub pump. This is a big part of the sound. Right, now it's got that thickness to it. Now we can play this in the club. Now it exists. Yeah, that's all it is. And then of course you got, I love how I just called it boing. Boing. Oh god, no, that's not right. Yeah. That's it. And again, like all of these, I'm definitely putting some more stuff on. Again, OTT, console EQ, on this one particularly. Here's a fun little thing. I use like a, what is this? Servo moving truck sound stacked with the blang. So it's like a little machinery sound. That's how you get that. And then of course, you know, your synth bass. And that's how you get the sound. So a lot of stacking. Yeah. Yeah, so then what I did is I just grabbed all of these patches, bounced them down, and then like, you know, and I probably dragged it out too. So what's happening is I'm splicing it up, and then I'm just like pitching it down and then dragging it out. So it just sounds like it's slowing down. And that's, you know, that's how you get that fun little sound. Yeah, and again, like just those little micro moments of allowing something else to show up, you know? Right? Stuff like that with the go. All that jazz. Oh, you know, another little fun thing that I didn't show from the build is this little Mellotron string. I love the Mellotron. Yeah. It's just like a looping... That's all it is. It probably goes up. It actually doesn't do that much. But, you know, this is that extra element of... Right, and another element of this drop is like always kind of bringing it back home, you know. So it's like calling back to the actual motif, right? So it always starts with that sample, goes into like these cool little like wavetable sounds, and then goes right back into the sample chop, right? So it's kind of like it's a dance between the two. It's a call back and forth. Yeah, and there you again, like, you know, like I was saying with like the syncopated element, like I've got just like a little blip of it popping up. Like there's this guitar chop down here, right? Which is just a stupid little thing. Listen to this. Like I mean, it's tiny. Yeah, the little the electric piano there. Anyway, so yeah, that's, I mean, and that's, I mean, that's the track. You got this little ride cymbal in the last bit here. It bounces back and forth between the ears. Oh yeah, that's another little fun thing there. I used tremolo, and it would like, it ramped up both in its depth, how noticeable it was, and the speed of the tremolo. So for those of you that don't know, tremolo is basically a modulation where it just goes back and forth, usually between the ears. You could also have it where it's just dead center. There's no stereo effect to it, and it's just a matter of just hearing like the volume kind of dipping. I guess I may as well just kind of like I could show you real quick. Probably not on that guy. Let me show you on this patch. This is what tremolo does. So if I go here, modulation tremolo. So this is with no stereo sound. Right, and this is actually, if I were to take any, let me that's actually a pretty cool sound right there, right? It gives some, that's like a fun little, it adds some movement, almost a vibrato kind of sound. That's a very typical thing to use for electric piano, actually, is tremolo like that. But then if I put the stereo on it, again, if you're on headphones, you'll notice this. Now it's bouncing back and forth between the ears, which is a really cool effect in and of itself. Right, anyway, so I can make this really fast or really slow. Which is really, that can be a really cool effect. So basically what I did here is I applied that effect to this kind of, this tape stop almost sound where everything kind of slows down like this. So that tremolo speeds up as the whole thing comes to an end. Which is a fun little, like, just ending thing to do. I don't know, it may have just been on that. Yeah, it's just on that. Anyway, so that's Ai.Mi's theme. I'm curious if you guys have any questions, anything in particular you were wanting to hear that maybe I missed, or any questions about the stuff that I showed. I love that jazz electronic piano. Yeah, there's various ones. There's also this one, which I guess I didn't really, you know, yeah. Oh, I've got low latency on. Let me turn that off. So yeah, this is a typical thing that I do a lot. You'll hear this. Number one, like I said, I love using LA2A on electric piano. I love LA2 on a ton of stuff. That's definitely a favorite compressor of mine. The good old J37, Waves J37, tape saturation. Gosh, I use this thing all the time. I love to put some tape saturation on it, so without it on, you just get, you know, which that sounds great. But with tape saturation on, you get a little bit more of that, like the grit. I love tape saturation on electric pianos in particular. Yeah, you just get a little bit of that drive. I love that. And then, you know, another classic thing I love to do that you can see here is the wow, tape wow, which is basically pitch fluctuation. And this is admittedly relatively subtle. But basically, it just means that there's just a little bit, like here, let me exaggerate it. Let me exaggerate it for you. So what were we, 21.6? So that's like really exaggerated. But I love a little bit of that kind of helps give some character and some yeah, I get character is the best word for it, I think, color to it. So yeah, that's the Ai.Mi theme.